Welcome to the Witchy Work Wishes podcast, a place to find your weekly inspiration for bringing your personal witchcraft practice into your business, work, and office. Welcome to Witchy Work Wishes. I'm your host, Charlene, and today we are walking right into the thinning veil of October, the month when every flicker of a candle flame can feel like a whisper. And when the veil between our world and the other side thins enough for us to really feel it. I don't know about you, but I swear I can sense it the moment the mornings get that crisp bite and the nights stretch just a little bit longer. We are all getting those moments when the unseen reaches out to us. Whether it's a chill down your spine, a dream that feels just too vivid to ignore, or, even that crow that won't stop perching outside your window. Feathers. For me, right now, it is so many feather signs. Today, we are going to explore how spirits show up for us, how we can recognize and work with their signs, and most importantly, how to protect our space and say no thank you when something does not feel right. Just because the door is open doesn't mean we have to invite everyone in. We get to be the gatekeepers. We get to choose. And in that choice, there is so much power. But first, real quick, some housekeeping notes for Witchy Work Wishes. The website is still going to be our best place just to see, well, like everything. Historically, I have always included a Spotify link with each podcast episode on that, that outline page, so you could click and listen right from the website. But moving forward, I won't be posting those links anymore there. At this point, I think now that we are a bit more established as a community, most of us already have our go-to listening platforms, whether that is Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or another favorite, app. So anyway, the website will stay focused on the episode outlines, of course, so you can look ahead, notes, all those magical extras. But the listening part stays wherever you personally love to tune in. Let's see, the Hearth and Hen project has officially launched. I've had a blog on the website for a while now where you've been able to follow along as I prepped the space, built the hen house with my boys, and when I shared little glimpses of all the backyard activity. But now the program is officially up and running on Patreon. I'm still going to sprinkle in, some updates and behind the scenes peeks over on the blog, like every now and then, but the heart of the program, full videos, the special content, the magical extras are going to live over on Patreon. That's where the real Hearth and Hen experience is happening. Now, the October schedule is officially posted for Hearth and Hen, so you can see everything that is coming up this month. The full packet with all of the juicy details, recipes, the book info, and more, it is available on the Hearth and Hen subscription. That way, if you want to follow along with me, you've got everything you need in one cozy place. Right now, I'm starting with 2 episodes each month. One's going to be on the full moon, always on the full moon, which is our storytelling episode. And then one will always be on the new moon, which is our kitchen magic and cooking episode. I know more fun extras will make their way in as we go, because let's be honest, I just can't help myself when it comes to adding little bits of extra magic. But for October, we are keeping it simple with these 2. And guess what? Oh my goodness. I'm still actually figuring out my way around all of the recording equipment and gadgets. This month has been just as much about me learning behind the scenes as it has been about me sharing stories and recipes with you. And of course, I kind of backed myself into a little corner. I love, love, love recording in real time for all of you in my cozy podcast space. Usually, I record episodes on Friday and Saturdays, do a quick edit, and then post them early actually for my Patreon family on Sundays. With, of course, the regular releases every Wednesday. It's all audio though, which means I can record in my jammies in the summer heat on a rainy day, totally tucked away in my own little world, comfy and witchy. But filming outside, oh my goodness, that is a whole different ball game. I should have recorded the full moon video last weekend. And I was busy working on our Patreon card draw with that sparkly firefly energy. So I told myself, first, I'll film next weekend under the actual full moon, energy, which is even better. Well, Friday night rolls around and it's wildly windy. Aggressively windy. When I let the girls out of the hen house to, forage, they were literally physically getting blown around. I know they don't weigh a bunch, so it's probably easy to picture them not even being able to stand on their feet. The fire pit chairs toppled over. The yard turned into a swirling dust fest. Definitely not ideal for filming. Now, the audio alone would have sounded like I was trapped in a wind tunnel. So, yeah, here I am, recording this podcast episode on Saturday with the video still not filmed. And now I have to do it. Do it tonight so I can figure out the video editing software and have it ready for Monday. So yes, fully backed into a corner of witchy chaos. Self-induced chaos, but chaos nonetheless. And you know how I end a bunch of our Patreon posts by saying, we've got this. Well, today I am turning that energy right back on myself. I'm giving me a little pep talk, the same kind I give all of you, because today's to-do list is no frickin' joke. So here I am, coffee in hand. Yes, it is a pumpkin spice latte. I'm reminding myself that I can do this, that even when it feels a little chaotic, we've handled way more before. It's okay. This is okay. Today, I am my own cheer squad, just saying, come on, Charlene, you've got this. Sometimes we have to be our own little hype witches, don't we? Now, I would love to give a huge shout out to our new Patreon family members, Eliona, Sarah, our mystery friend whose name fully didn't come through, but it ends with Mod 3. You know who you are. Jackie and Krista. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am so excited to have you in the circle. Your support means the world to me, and I cannot wait to share all of the magical things that we are creating this season. All right, now that we have set the scene for October, for this month's energy here at Witchy Work Wishes, let's talk about one of my favorite, and honestly, probably one of the most enchanting parts of this season. As the nights grow longer and the veil thins, it is like the world itself is just holding its breath. This is the time when those other side moments become a little more noticeable. A flicker in the corner of your eye, a sudden chill, a familiar scent that has no source. We are stepping into that liminal space right now, the threshold where spirit doors creak open just a bit wider. And that's exactly what we're diving into next. How spirits might be reaching out to you, how we can recognize those subtle signs, and importantly, how to decide whether to say yes, come in, or not today. So grab your favorite fall drink, light a candle if you've got one nearby, and let's walk together through these October spirit doors and see what's waiting for us on the other side. Before I ever called myself a witch or even understood what the word spirit meant, there were moments, especially when I was really little, that told me the world was bigger than it looked. I'm talking like 4 years old, pigtails, crayons on the kitchen table type age. I would see things. Shapes, lights, people who didn't, quite look like everyone else, but also felt familiar, comforting, maybe a little curious, but many, many times very scary. I didn't have the language for it back then. I didn't know about the veil or ancestors or spirit guides. All I knew was that sometimes in the quiet corners of a room or just before bedtime, it felt like there were visitors. Sometimes scary ones, sometimes just like present ones, watching, listening, sometimes even smiling. It's only now as an adult, looking back on those moments that I realize these spirit doors were open even then. And like so many of us who've had those early experiences, they shaped how I listen, how I trust my senses, and how I protect my space today. When I was little, the nights felt enormous. My room would go quiet, the hall light would click off, and suddenly the air just wasn't air anymore. It felt thick, charged, like someone was standing there holding their breath. That was when the shapes would come. Not like monsters under, the bed type shapes, but shadows in the corners. Most for me when I was little were in the hallway. But there were those soft whispers I couldn't quite make out. Flickers of movement that, I don't know, no one else seemed to see. I didn't have words like, veil or ancestor or energy, of course, when I was little. All I knew was that, bedtime was when the world shifted, when the rules of the day didn't apply anymore. And, back then it terrified me. I was so afraid to close my eyes, afraid of what I might see when I opened them again, afraid of what might be waiting. Most nights, the fear was so heavy that I would lie very still and whisper to myself, it's okay. It's okay to die. Maybe if I die, I can finally go to sleep. I know that is horrible, and hopefully I don't get in trouble with the algorithm for even saying that, but I was just a tiny girl trying to negotiate with something vast and invisible, trying to soothe myself enough to surrender to rest. Now, looking back, my heart aches for that little version of me carrying such a big, dark weight. But here's the part that matters. Even though I was scared, I learned something in those nights. I learned how to talk myself through fear. I learned how strong the human spirit can be, even in a small child. And as I got older, I began to realize those shadows weren't there to hurt me. They were simply there, waiting, maybe even trying to communicate. That scared little girl eventually grew into someone who could name what she felt, who could create rituals of protection and connection, who could teach others how to be the gatekeepers of their own spirit doors. When I talk about setting boundaries with the unseen now, it's because, guys, I remember. I remember how it felt to be that child, whispering to herself, be courageous, one night at a time. I know I mentioned this story before in an episode a while ago, but in a full circle moment, that same type of visual interaction happened in my adult life, just actually a couple of years back. It happened on a full moon, which for me is pretty consistent as far as like moon phase timing, timings go with interactions. But it was actually on a visit to see my older son going to college in Chicago. So he grabbed me from the O'Hare airport after landing late at night and drove me to my hotel that was near his college. Right as we pulled up, I said out loud, something is wrong. Something is off. It was like that familiar sense from back in my little girl days was just sending shivers up my spine. Of course, my son said, done, done. Let's go find another hotel. But it was late. I was tired, and I said, no, no, it's okay. I checked in and I went up to my room. And I unpacked like I normally do when traveling. I knew it was going to be a full moon weekend, so I brought some things with me to, help celebrate it. Some crystals, micro tarot deck, a handful of personal witchy items that I wanted to use the next evening on the full moon. As I got myself ready for bed, I honestly just waited. Like I knew something was going to happen. but nothing did. No strange interactions, no noises, nothing. And at some point, I drifted off to sleep. On Saturday, my son had his football game. The whole reason I was coming out to Chicago for the visit. It was a rainy day. It was a stormy day, and it was in October, which for me, living in California, was a really nice change from the still hot weather we were having back then. Now, after the night game ended, I headed back to the hotel, still feeling a bit silly, honestly, for the exaggerated uneasiness that I had the night before. By the time I got up to my room, the storm had, for the most part, mostly passed. The clouds were thinning, and that big, bright October full moon was starting to break through. Remember pulling the hotel curtains back, letting that moonlight pour in like a silver spotlight. Setting out my little travel altar up on the desk. Crystals lined up, crow tarot deck, fanned out, and my familiar little witchy touchstones grounding the space. I brushed my teeth, I climbed into bed, and I turned off the lamp. There's a particular feeling I get when spirit activity is about to happen, but it's not fear anymore. It's more like every sense of my body sits up straight and goes, hey, pay attention. Somewhere in that in between space, not fully asleep, but not fully awake either, the energy in the room shifted, and I was instantly alerted. It started with that pressure change, like the air got heavier, and then I saw them right by the full length hotel mirror. And this was not one of those, maybe it's my eyes playing tricks on me moments. Like, no, they were distinct, wispy white and gray figures ish, like floating around the room. It wasn't like human bodies, but just like, I don't know how to adequately explain it. They were floating around the room, just like they did when I was little. So I thought, okay, here we go. I was right last night. My intuition knew something was going to happen. But the full circle moment that did happen was the ability to now, as an adult, make a choice. And I chose not to be terrified and scared and frozen in fear. Yes, I had that same shiver from childhood. Yes, I did. But this time I was grown. I had my wards. I had my boundaries. And I whispered out loud, I see you. It almost made me want to cry. Like I acknowledged and I said, hello. I reached out my right arm as I was lying in bed and I let the smoky, wispy type gray figures float through my fingers. They circled above my bed for a long time, and I watched. I took a deep breath and I just watched. At some point, they all went back to the mirror and left. And I went to sleep. This time, though, with a big smile on my face and a huge warm glow in my heart, because this time was different. Moments like that always remind me that our intuition is so often the first knock on the spirit door. It's that uneasy feeling when I pulled up to the hotel. It's just travel fatigue. That was my inner compass saying, hey, heads up, girl, something is here. And the full moon, well, that's when the veil thins just enough for the curious and the lingering to peek through, for me at least. The key isn't to panic, it's to remember that we are the gatekeepers of our own space. Our wards, our words, our boundaries, they matter. And that night in Chicago was a full circle moment for me, from the little girl who was terrified to fall asleep to the woman who could light a candle, stand her ground, and choose a different interaction. So if you ever get that spine tingly feeling, trust it. Whether it's a spirit passing through, a shift in energy, or simply your intuition lighting up like a witch's lantern, listen. You never know who might be knocking at your spirit door under a bright October moon. Now, this is not the only type of interaction I've had over the years. I can honestly say I experience things on just about every level of clairs that we have. maybe not the tasting one. You may already be familiar with the different types of all the clairs and different psychic senses. So the clairs are the ways intuition and spirit communication can come through. Most people, I think, naturally lean into one or two, but usually we have access to more than we realize. The most obvious one or most common one, I think, is going to be clairvoyance. This is when spirits talk to you, like in pictures. It might be an actual vision, might be little flashes in your mind's eye, like a memory that just doesn't belong to you. Sometimes it can feel like daydreaming, but just like a tad bit sharper. If you've ever seen a symbol or an image just pop into your head out of nowhere, that's clairvoyance at work. We've also got clairaudience. This one is about sound. Now, it's not usually like big booming ghost voices in the room, although I don't know, can be. More often, it is like hearing your own inner voice, but it's not you. For me, right now, I've bought a brand new cauldron for my kitchen table. It's decorative, but it's making sounds like it's chiming, and it's only happened twice, but it's that sound. It's the clairaudience of hearing something. Some people may hear a song, a word, or even just a tone that carries a message. Think of it like, spirit whispering straight into your ear. So we've also got clairsentience. This is another pretty common one. I think it's when you feel the energy like right in your own body. Goosebumps out of nowhere, a heavy chest, a warm rush of peace, maybe. Those sensations are clairsentience. Empaths, I think, are going to work heavily in this area. You can feel when a room is tense or when a person's energy is heavy, even if no one says a word. We also have claircognizance. This one's a little wild. It's when you know, like you just know. No vision, no feeling, no sound. The knowledge simply drops in. It's like your brain suddenly downloads a file from the universe. Can't explain how you know, but you know. To your core, you know. And often you'll be proven right later. Clairalliance is having to do with like smelling things. This is very powerful because yes, your nose can be psychic too. This is when you smell things that aren't physically there. Your grandmother's perfume, a pipe smoke, fresh roses. Spirits love to use scent as a calling card. There's also one called clairgustance, and this is the one that I don't think I've had any interaction with. It is when we taste something really out of nowhere. Like suddenly you taste apple pie, and it turns out that that was one of your ancestors' favorite desserts. Clear empathy is another one. Some people I think are going to kind of group this into clairsentience, but it really is about turning or tuning into emotions, like not just physical sensations. You can suddenly feel sadness or maybe joy or excitement, but it's not yours because you are picking it up from, spirits or maybe another person. Anyways, those are the clairs. These psychic senses that weave their way into our everyday lives. The fun thing is? You don't have to just pick one to work with. Again, if you're like me, you may work with all of them, many of them. Most of us use a mix, I think, without really even realizing it. And I think spirits will always choose the sense that is easiest for you to notice. Let's do a little walkthrough of these real quick before moving on. Just something to help you figure out which psychic senses or sense you might lean on the most. So take a deep breath and let's imagine that you're walking into an old, mysterious house. The air is heavy with history, and you know something magical is about to happen. Now, notice what comes through first. Do you immediately see something in your mind's eye? Maybe flashes of color, a shape, even a spirit figure. That's clairvoyance. Did you actually hear something? A creak on the stairs, a whispered name. or maybe even a song that just doesn't belong. Well, then that's clairaudience. Maybe you suddenly felt it in your body. Maybe the hairs on your arms stand up, your stomach flips, or you feel a wash of warmth. Well, that's clairsentience. Maybe you walked into that old mysterious house and you just know something about this house without any type of evidence. Like, yeah, someone named Mary lived here. No reason why, but you just know it. That's clear cognizance. Hey, maybe a smell rushed in. Old woods, roses, tobacco, perfume. Well, that's your clear alliance. Or maybe you got a taste out of nowhere. Metallic, sweet, smoky. Well, that's your clear gustance. But what if when you walk into that old house, again, that air is heavy with history, and the first thing that hits you is an emotion. Feel sadness. Maybe you feel joy. Maybe you feel longing. Well, that's clear empathy. Notice which one of these was, the loudest for you. It's usually going to be your strongest player. The more you practice, the more the others wake up too, though. Kind of like, flexing psychic muscles that you didn't even realize you had. Back to the October energy and our thinning veil. October feels different for good reason. It has the spirit vibe in spades. Air gets crisp, the nights stretch a little longer, and everything smells like leaves and smoke and cinnamon. Beneath all of the pumpkin spice and cozy sweaters, there is this almost electric feeling just humming under the surface. Witches, mystics, spiritual seekers, I think we have always noticed it. October is when the veil between worlds starts to thin. And I know that phrase, the veil, sounds dramatic, like a soft curtain between the seen and the unseen. All year long, that curtain's a little thicker. You might get glimpses here and there, right? Dream about your grandmother, look at a little sign from the universe. In May and October, oh, it is like the universe cracked open a window. I tend to feel the fae and fairies more in May, and my ancestors and spirits more in October, but either way, the door is open. Across cultures and generations, people have picked up on this energy. Our ancestors held festivals for their dead, left offerings at the hearth, lit candles in windows, because they felt the presence of their loved ones more strongly. Even people who, wouldn't call themselves psychic would say things like, goodness, the energy just feels weird this time of year. It's not your imagination. The season itself invites connection. Why now? Why October? Well, the natural world gives us clues. The days are shortening, darkness grows, and the earth is actually preparing to rest. When nature turns inward, we tend to do the same. Our intuition perks up, our dreams get a little bit louder, and the unseen world feels a little closer because we are finally quiet enough to hear it. This is the time of year when you might find yourself catching glimpses of something out of the corner of your eye, or getting goosebumps when there's no chill in the air. Spirit likes to nudge us in October because we're just more open. We are paying attention. And the beauty of it is, you don't have to be a witch to feel it. Anyone can sit down with a candle, whisper a hello to their ancestors, or pay attention to the signs all around them. But for those of us who walk a magical path, it's like our favorite season, isn't it? October is our playground for shadow work, for honoring our dead, for listening to the whispers that are always there, but so easy to miss in the noise of summer. Take the Celts, for example. They celebrated Samhain, which basically was their New Year's Eve. For them, the harvest was in, the animals were brought close in for winter, and life shifted into a quieter rhythm. Samhain was that hinge point between the bright half of the year and the dark half of the year. They believed the veil was thinnest at this turning of the year, when spirits could easily walk among the living. That's why you see bonfires, offerings of food left out, and rituals to honor ancestors. It wasn't spooky, in horror movie sense. It was sacred, protective, and deeply, deeply respectful. Now, if we peek into Norse traditions, we see a similar awareness. The Norse people marked this season with something called Winter Nights. Don't know exactly how to pronounce the name, but it's a festival at the end of harvest, around mid to like late October-ish. It was a time to honor the Disir. And these are female ancestral spirits and guardians and goddesses tied to the family lines. These beings were thought to influence the well-being of kin and the fertility of the land. And again, we find that mix of honoring the dead, preparing for the cold months, and recognizing that the seen and unseen worlds were just a little closer than usual. And if we step back further, across many, many different cultures, we notice this repeating theme: ancestor festivals at harvest end. Whether it is Dia de los Muertos in Mexico, the Roman festival of Lemuria, or the Chinese Hungry Ghost Festival, which I think actually happens a little bit earlier in the year, but humans everywhere seemed to sense that the boundary between worlds was not fixed. It moved, it breathed, and autumn, especially the time after the last harvest, well, that was when the boundary felt fragile, like you could almost reach through. Think about it, right? The crops were cut down, the fields look empty, the days grow shorter, and death is suddenly visible all around in nature. Leaves fall, plants wither, the world darkens. For our ancestors, it made perfect sense that the invisible world of the spirits would be more accessible in a season that mirrored endings and transitions. So I think when we talk about the thinning veil today, it's not just modern witch language. It is an echo of those old, old traditions. We are, tuning into the same rhythm our ancestors did. The end of harvest, the approach of winter, and the awareness that life and death sit a little closer this time of year. So, friend to friend, I would say don't be surprised if this month your dreams feel more vivid, your gut feelings are a bit sharper, or maybe you feel like someone is just gently tapping on your shoulder from the other side. That is the thinning veil doing its light a candle, pour a little tea, lean into it. This is a season where magic doesn't just happen in your spells. It really is literally in the air itself. All right, let's talk about some types of spirits, because they come through, I believe, in many, many different forms. Ancestors, guides, animal spirits, one of my favorites, archetypal energies, and land spirits. All sorts of spirits are more likely to wander close in October. So I'm going to grab some of the main types that show up this time of year, because not everything that goes bump in the night is a ghost in a sheet. Ancestors are usually the first ones we think of. Our grandmothers, our great-grandfathers, that long line of family who came before us. They love to visit when the veil is thin. Sometimes they come gently through dreams or memories. Sometimes it's in the form of signs. A favorite flower scent, a recipe popping into your head, a song that they used to love. October has always been the season of ancestor veneration because they are the closest to us in blood, bone, and spirit. But not all spirits are family. Some are here as teachers and helpers. Guides can show up in subtle nudges, sudden wisdom that doesn't quite feel like your own, or symbols that repeat until you notice them. During October, when we're naturally more tuned in, guides push a little louder, just to get our attention. It's like they know we are finally listening. Animal spirits are also incredible messengers. You might see them in real life. A crow on your walk, an eagle repeatedly over and over again, a fox darting across a field. You know what? They might appear in dreams and meditations. Each animal brings its own medicine and meaning. You guys know this is near and dear to my heart. It is what our whole Patreon family is comprised of. Me pulling an animal spirit oracle card and then creating a whole month of energy around it. In October, though, these encounters often feel charged, like the animal is more than just coincidence. Many witches see this as the spirit of the animal stepping forward to guide, protect, or just awaken something within us. So we also have archetypal energies too. Like these are the bigger than life forces, the witch, the crone, the trickster, the warrior. Archetypes live in myth, story, and the collective unconscious. And during the thin veil season, I think they can feel more present. Might find yourself drawn to a certain myth, maybe a movie, or even characters, and realize there's an archetype brushing up against you, calling you to notice what lesson it carries. I'll tell you not next week's episode, but the week after, I'm going to be specifically talking about this and something that happened last year and why it is still haunting me today. I'm haunted, that's the word. I've certainly thought about it a lot, but it is all of a sudden just chiming in my ear this whole month so far. So I'm going to do an episode on it. But back to our spirits. Then we have land spirits. This one can be easy to overlook, but it is super, super important. The spirit of the land you live on, the trees, the rivers, the stones, and the old ones who once walked there, well, they speak up in October too. You might notice the woods feel especially alive, or your own backyard has a hum to it after dark. Many traditions believe that the land itself becomes more talkative when the veil thins. Just that we are a part of the cycle of death, rest, and rebirth. So when October rolls in and you feel that shiver down your spine, don't just assume, it's spooky season. Could be an ancestor brushing close, a guide offering a little nudge, an animal spirit crossing your path, an archetype stirring your imagination, or even the land itself whispering beneath your feet. The key is to pay attention, right? Light the candle, sit quietly, and just ask, who is trying to speak with me? It's all important. It all matters. Because when the veil is thin, the spirits are near. And they love when we notice. But what are the signs? Or you know what? How do or can spirits present themselves? I have literally thought so many times, how do I know if it's just my imagination or if a spirit is actually trying to get my attention? And honestly, it's a fair question. And I am sure I am in good company with this one. Because spirits rarely just pop in like a person at your door saying, hey, hi, I'm here to visit. Instead, they are subtle. They leave little breadcrumbs, and the more we pay attention, the clearer it all becomes. Let's go through, some of the most common ways they show up during this thin veil season, because once you know what to look for, I think it feels a lot less spooky and a lot more magical. Ragnar. Oh my goodness, he's eating. Ragnar, stinker, went right for a whole pile of feather signs. Okay, all right. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Right, I have to pause this and go hide my feathers because I'll take a picture and show you guys. I know I'm totally deviating here, but it has been white feather after white feather after. When I say white, like a white feather, I've made a little pile of them. But then one of my offices, we've been doing a move, and there was a whole bunch of, I don't know, it looks like little baby hawk feathers maybe or something. I don't know. I grabbed them, of course, but there was tons of them, like 5 or 6 of them, right at my office front door. Anyways, Ragnar just jumped up on the desk and is trying to eat them. Kitty, kitty, right? Okay, let's get back on track. And you know what? Maybe that was a sign right there. Mike and Ragnar coming to those feathers that I know have been signs saying, hey, pay attention. Go do your research. Figure out what these are and what the message is. I'm going to take my own advice here. All right, let's see. What were we talking about with the signs? These signs. Let's just review some of the common ways, just so you have it like right there to think about. By no means am I some type of expert with this stuff. I am walking the path right alongside you, noticing the signs, trying to make sense of the whispers, and honestly learning as I go too. The veil thin season of October feels different for all of us. And what I share here is just my own experiences, little pieces that I picked up that I felt in stories that resonate. You might experience it in your own totally unique way. And that's the beauty of it. Spirit doesn't hand out cookie cutter signs. It meets each of us where we are. So I don't know, just take what clicks, leave what doesn't, and know that we are all figuring this out together. All right, signs and symbols. Spirits love using everyday life to get through to us. Flickering lights that can't be explained, a clock that stops at I don't know, like a significant time maybe your phone randomly playing a meaningful song. These are all classic calling cards, repetitive numbers. 1111, 333, 777. They're another favorite. Sometimes you'll hear the same name over and over or see a symbol repeatedly. A butterfly, a key, a certain flower. These are not coincidences. They are little nudges saying, hey, I'm here. Scents are powerful too. You might, suddenly smell your grandmother's perfume. Pipe tobacco is really, really big. I think in this realm, roses, maybe a fresh baked bread when nothing around you explains it. Our sense of smell is tied directly to memory. It is super, super powerful. So when spirits use it to evoke, instant recognition, I think it's for a reason. We also have dreams and visions. When we are asleep, our logical mind takes a back seat, and our intuitive senses, they just get to play. That's why dreams are one of the most common, I think, spirit playgrounds. You might dream of a loved one who has passed, or receive a message or symbol so vivid that it just lingers all day long once you're awake. Sometimes these dreams aren't even, dramatic. Just a quiet conversation or a nice hug. But they leave you feeling deeply comforted or like you know. Visions can also happen in waking life though, especially when you're, meditating, daydreaming, or in that in-between state as you're falling asleep or waking up. These can look like little flashes of imagery, mental pictures, or even scenes playing out in your mind's eye. Now, I personally love nature messengers. Spirits also like to enlist this area as their messenger service. A bird landing on your windowsill, staring at you. A fox crossing your path at the exact right moment. A dragonfly hovering near you. These aren't always random. Insects, animals, even shifts in the weather can act as omens. Our ancestors, I believe, were masters at reading these signs. They watched the flight of birds. They watched the timing of storms, the behavior of animals, and they used that information as guidance. October, when the veil is thin, those patterns I think can feel even stronger, like the natural world is just winking at us. We also have some subtle body language, like our own personal bodies. They can be one of the best tools for sensing spirits. Goosebumps out of nowhere, the hair on your arms, standing up. Have you ever had goosebumps that actually hurt? Like you get such a rush over your body that it physically hurts? Maybe it's chills running through you when the room isn't cold. These are classic signals. So are those gut feelings or, sudden waves of emotion that seem to come from nowhere. Our bodies pick up on energy before our conscious mind does. In October. Yep, it is prime time for that heightened sensitivity. If you've ever been in a space and you just feel like you are not alone, or you suddenly feel like just peace wash over you. That's your body translating the unseen. I say, trust it. Well, keeping a spirit journal for October can help. Doesn't have to be fancy. A notebook, your apps, anything really. Each time something catches your attention, a flickering light, a vivid dream, a strange scent, a repeated number, an animal encounter, whatever it is, jot it down. Why? Well, because patterns reveal themselves over time. What looks like, random coincidences day by day becomes a clear thread when you read it back at the end of the month. This practice also helps you ground the experience, so you're not just wondering if you are making it up. You're gathering data, and you will be amazed, just amazed at how it weaves together. So as October veil thins, spirits may be all around. Ancestors, guides, animals, archetypes, even the land itself. They don't have to be scary or dramatic either. Most of the time, they're just gently reaching out. So pay attention, trust your subtle senses and keep that journal. By Samhain, you might have a whole messages just waiting for you. Let's talk about working with the signs. Let's move forward, shall we? Because one of the trickiest parts about working with spirits isn't whether they are real or not. It's actually, I don't know, slowing down enough just to notice them. The universe could be tossing little breadcrumbs like right in front of us all day long. But if we are racing from meeting to meeting, scrolling through our phones, or stuck in our heads, we're going to miss them completely. So that's why step one is going to be about slowing down. It doesn't have to be some big mystical ceremony. It could be as simple as taking a mindful walk around your neighborhood. No podcast in your ears, no rushing, just you noticing. What birds cross your path? What smells are in the air? How does the wind feel on your skin right now? Grounding practices like barefoot walks in the grass, a few deep breaths with your hand on your chest, or even just gazing into the flame of a candle for a couple of minutes each night. Well, these are little pauses that help us just slip into that quieter space where signs love to show up. And once you start noticing things, a flicker of lights, a crow that won't stop cawing, repeating numbers on the clock, the next step is decoding. And that's where a little journaling comes in. Again, don't overthink it. Just grab your notebook, ask yourself a couple questions like, what does this mean to me? Or maybe, does this connect to someone or something in my life right now? I believe the key is making it personal. A cardinal might mean your grandmother is near for you, but for someone else, it's going to mean new beginnings. The journal is going to help you kind of tease out your own language with spirit. And then the part that I love, creating an invitation. If you want signs to keep coming, make space for them in your home. Doesn't have to be an elaborate altar, dripping in crystals, though if that's your vibe, I say go for it. Simple as a candle on your desk, a little shelf with a photo of your ancestor, or a corner where you place a bowl of water and stone. That physical space sends the message. It says, I'm open. I'm listening. I welcome positive spirits. Think of it like, leaving the porch light on for a friend who's visiting. The best part of all, though, it doesn't have to feel heavy or complicated. I think working with signs can be playful and curious and fun. It's not about having the right interpretation. It's about deepening your connection with the unseen world, and honestly, just with yourself. Because when we slow down enough to notice the little whispers of spirits, we also start noticing the whispers of our own soul. How do we do it? How do we talk and interact with spirits? Let's be real. The idea of talking with spirits can sound super spooky if all you've got in your head is horror movies. But in reality, it doesn't have to be spooky or scary at all. Spirits are just energy. And most of the time, they're gentle. They're curious. And honestly, I think they're happy that we are paying attention. Think of it like learning to chat with a friend who speaks a slightly different language. You just need a little practice and some tools. I say start with simple rituals. Again, nothing has to be fancy in our world. Light a candle, sit for a few quiet minutes, and let your mind soften. Maybe speak your intentions out loud. Something as simple as, I am open to hearing from my ancestors tonight. Spirits love clear invitations. Like you can also set out little offerings, a piece of bread, a glass of water, a glass of wine, or fresh flowers at your altar or kitchen counter. These gestures are like spiritual hospitality, the cosmic version of putting the kettle on for a guest. And also bring in some tools if you like. Divination is certainly one of the easiest ways to start a dialogue. Tarot and oracle cards are basically conversation decks with the unseen. You shuffle, you pull, and you see what the message is. Pendulums are another fun one. I do not have a lot of practice with this one, but simple yes or no really can set up, open, deep communication. And remember, the tool isn't magic all on its own, like you. You are the bridge. The cards, the pendulum, the tea leaves, they are just mirrors reflecting spirit's nudge back to you. I think your voice is super, super powerful. Prayer, affirmations, spoken intentions, they all count as communication. Spirits respond beautifully to clarity. And honestly, just like with people, consent matters. It's perfectly okay to set boundaries. Try something like, I welcome only loving, hopeful spirits into this space. All others must leave. Simple, firm, and respectful. Like you are not just opening the door wide and hoping for the best. You are putting up a sign that says, positive vibes only, please. The thing is, interacting with spirits doesn't have to be dramatic or complicated. It can be lighthearted and intentional. A candle, a word spoken with clarity, a card pulled with curiosity. That's all it takes to start building a relationship. And again, the more you practice, the more natural it feels. Before long, you'll realize that spirits have always been trying to talk with you. You are just finally tuning in. I do have to bring up our boundaries, like how to set them. Spiritually saying no. One of the most empowering things we can learn on a spiritual path is that it is okay to say no. We talk so much about, opening ourselves up to signs, listening to guidance, welcoming ancestors. But the truth is, not every presence is meant to be invited. Just like in our everyday lives, not every person gets a key to our house. Not every stranger gets to sit at our table. Same thing goes for the spirit world. Consent is powerful in our spiritual work. You are not a passive receiver of whatever energy happens to wander through. You are the gatekeeper of your own space. You get to decide who comes in, how long they stay, and when it is time for them to go. I think spirits respect a firm, clear boundary, but only if you set it. There are so many tools that can help you feel strong and protected. A circle of salt sprinkled around your candle or even your altar. A piece of black tourmaline in your pocket or on your desk. A protective sigil drawn on paper or just traced in the air. Incense made with herbs like sage and rosemary, frankincense. They can shift the energy in a room and reinforce your intent. These aren't just superstitions. Like, they are ways of declaring, this space is mine and it is safe. And you know what? Never underestimate the power of your own words. A simple spoken boundary can close doors just as effectively as any crystal or herb. Try phrases like, this is not my work to do. I close the door to any energy not for my highest good. You could say something like, only love and light remain, all else must leave. Say it out loud. Like, honestly, I would say it out loud. Say it with clarity and mean it. Spoken words ripple through the unseen just as powerfully as they do in our everyday lives. When you finish spirit work, always take a moment just to close the door. Gently, but close it. Blow out your candle. Thank any spirits who, came through and lovingly release them. Ground yourself too. touch the earth, take a few deep breaths, drink water. These simple closing rituals tell your body, your spirit, and any energies around you that the session is now done. At the end of the day, spiritual work it's a partnership. You're not here to be overwhelmed or drained. You are here to grow, to listen, to connect. Setting boundaries is not shutting the door forever. It's learning how to open it wisely and close it when you need to. Saying no is just as sacred as saying yes. Now, I know some of you are listening from your corporate world, your office. Maybe you're squeezing this episode in between meetings, spreadsheets, and emails. You might be wondering, how do I take all of this October spirit energy and actually make it work in the corporate world? Let's be real, not everyone can smudge sage in the middle of a boardroom or leave ancestor offerings next to the coffee pot. Here's the secret. You have to go big to go deep. Small, subtle practices bring the energy in without raising a bunch of eyebrows. First one's going to be just slowing down at work. That's hard for many of us. But think of like mindful noticing, in the office, the same way you would on a walk. Pause for a breath before opening your email. Notice if certain numbers or words or honestly even song lyrics follow you around during your workday. That repeating 11:11 on the clock, the crow outside your office window, even that song that randomly plays when you hit shuffle on Spotify. Those can all be spirit signs just slipping into your 9 to 5 life. I would also think about that journal we talked about, a spirit journal at work too. Notebook kept on your desk. It doesn't have to be just for meetings. Use the margins to jot down little nudges, gut feelings, synchronicities, even sudden ideas that feel like downloads. Ask yourself those same journal prompts that we just talked about, like, what does this mean to me right now? Does this connect to someone or something in my work life? I do think you'll start to notice patterns. Sacred spaces at the desk is another option here. Even in a corporate cubicle, you can create a micro altar, single crystal like black tourmaline, a small potted plant, or a candle you light at home but dedicate for your work energy. It doesn't have to scream witchcraft. It can be subtle, personal, and grounding. These little touches anchor your space and quietly invite positive, supportive energy into your day. Here's where it really ties in. Setting boundaries with spirit energy, it really is not so different from setting boundaries with your coworkers, your clients, your boss. You wouldn't let someone pile their unfinished work on your desk without saying something, right? Well, same thing goes spiritually. Use your voice, even silently, to say, I only welcome energy that supports me in doing my best work. Anything else has to go. That kind of clarity not only keeps your spiritual space safe, I think it ripples out into your work relationships too. And do your closing rituals at the end of the workday. When you are done, treat your clocking out as a closing ritual. Shut your laptop, clear your desk, maybe wipe it down with rosemary spray or even just water with a drop of essential oil. Say a quiet thank you to your guides, your ancestors, or just the day itself, and close the energetic door so you don't carry office chaos home with you. Well, my friends, that's a pretty good wrap up for October in all of her magic, for this year at least, in our thin veil workings. A wonderful invitation to connect with our ancestors, with our guides, and, the whispers of the spirits that are all around us. Remember, it's not just about opening the door wide. It's about, discernment too. You are the gatekeeper of your own spiritual doors. You get to say yes, you get to say no, and you get to decide what energy has a place in your life. I would love to hear how this veil season is showing up for you. The signs, the dreams, the little nudges from the unseen. Share your stories with me over on Patreon. Pop into the blog comments or tag me on socials so we can walk through this October magic together. All right, well, I do have a poem for today, and of course, I've got the moon update. I will go grab those notes, and I will be right back. When the night grows long and shadows fall, these spirits come to gently call. A flicker of flame, a whispered name, the world feels close, yet not seen. Through dreams they walk, through signs they speak, a song, a scent, the chill on your cheek. Not here to harm, but to guide and tend, a loving nudge from those who've been. Light your candle, set out bread, offer water for the dead. Speak your truth, both firm and kind. Only love and light may find. For in this season, thin and near, the spirit world leans close to hear. So talk with them, both soft and true, and know they're always near to you. Our moon, well, Monday is, we're going to miss a couple exact time. Monday was our full moon, and that energy is still lingering as this airs on Wednesday, the 8th of October. And of course, if you are listening to this over in my Patreon family, you get the early releases on Sunday. So you might be right in the middle of the full moon vibe. Full moons, especially October ones, leave us feeling a little buzzed, don't they? It's that combination of heightened intuition, emotional intensity for sure, and spirit door energy just swirling around us. So, I think this week it's a great time just to take those barefoot walks, of course, weather allows, and do a salt scrub in the shower just to shake off the excess energy. Bring grounding herbs into your practice like rosemary, sage, or cedar. Journal about anything that bubbled up during the month and, this full moon during your rituals, or maybe even some spirit encounters. Think of it like sweeping the magical floor after a big party. It makes space for what comes next. Now, this is the week to process all of the insights and signs and dreams and intuitive nudges that may have surfaced. Instead of rushing ahead, slow down and integrate. Pull a single tarot or oracle card each morning just to help you anchor your day. Write down any messages or downloads if you got them, that you received under the full moon, and explore what they might mean for your path. If you did any spell work, to check in with how you're feeling about it. Do you need to add energy? Just simply trust and release. October's full moon often brings messages, at least for me in my world, from the spirit realm. This week it is about making sense of them and weaving them into your daily life. Because the veil remains thin all through October for the whole month, it is wise to keep your spiritual boundaries tidy. Refresh your wards, especially if you've invited spirits for, communication or divination. Use protective incense like rosemary, frankincense, or dragon's blood. Speak clear, closing statements in your home or workspace. This space is my own. Only energies for my highest good may remain. This isn't about fear, right? It's about keeping your spiritual front porch clear after opening the door wide during the full moon. And as the moon wanes, this is your moment to release, refine, and wind down. Start decluttering physical spaces or clearing digital clutter. Do cord cutting rituals if needed. Begin shadow journaling. I think October's waning moon energy pairs beautifully with shadow work, ancestral reflection, or just honestly preparing for Samhain. It's like shifting from the very bright energy of the full moon to the quiet whisper of autumn evenings. For my witches in the workplace, this is a great week for clearing your desk or inbox with waning moon energy to release those lingering projects. Placing a small black tourmaline, obsidian, or bay leaf in your workspace for continued protection, and intentionally closing the loops. Finish what is half done. Say no to what is not aligned and give yourself permission to tidy up your professional energy field too. Before I wrap up, I would love to personally invite you to join me over at Hearth and Hen for something very special. My very first video is dropping on Monday's full moon, and honestly, I cannot wait to share this moment with you. I'm recording it tonight. I did leave this to the very end, so now it is like, this is it. I'm stepping up. This first Hearth and Hen video is the beginning of something magical. A space where kitchen witchery, backyard rituals, and simple seasonal living all come together under the moonlight. So after you finish this episode, hop on over to Hearth and Hen and make sure you are subscribed and ready. Let's gather around the fire. Let's celebrate the full moon together and set the tone for all of the witchy adventures to come. I hope you have a great week, a wonderful weekend, and I will talk with you for our special Samhain episode next week. Thank you for joining me today at Witchy Work Wishes, a place to find your weekly inspiration for bringing your personal witchcraft practice into your business, work, and office. For more information and additional content, please visit me online at witchyworkwishes.com. If you want to send me a personal note, please email me at info@witchyworkwishes.com. And of course, you can follow me on Instagram and Facebook. Just search for Witchy Work Wishes.